Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to these community chats out of Montefiore Nyack Hospital in Nyack, New York. My name is Sandra Arevalo, and I'm the Director of Community Health and Wellness, and I'll be your host for this session. Today, we're going to be talking about the vital role of support groups for cancer patients and caregivers. As we all know, support groups are most of the time, I don't want to say always, available to patients with cancer and those who take care of them. However, not everybody knows about the great advantages that support groups have, not just for the patients, but for the caregivers as well. So to talk to us about those advantages and why we should be joining one of those support groups, either if we are the patient or the caregiver, we have invited Heather Boyle, who is one of our rock star social workers here in the oncology department. Heather, thank you so much for being with us and for telling us a little bit more about these support groups. And I know that we have a few of them here in Nyack Hospital. So thank you for all this information that you're going to be giving us. And how are you today? And please tell us a little bit about the work that you do here in Montefiore Nyack Hospital.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction, Sandra. So I'm one of the oncology social workers here in the oncology department at Montefiore Nyack. I work with patients as far as giving them referrals and resources for things such as support groups, counseling. We assist patients in getting, if they need home care services like a visiting nurse, if they need any type of durable medical equipment, we offer emotional support to both the patients and their family members, and really just try to connect them with different resources that are available to them in the community that most people don't know are available, and most of those resources are free. So really try to educate the patients and their caregivers about things that are available to them to get them through this challenging time in their life.
Yeah, and that's great to hear because, a lot of people don't know about these resources. And here we are suffering when there are, resources being spoiled really without going to those who need them. So I know that you have a PowerPoint for us. So I'll just give you the podium here and you can start your presentation.
Great. So thank you everybody for joining us today. As Sandra mentioned, we're going to be talking about, the importance of support groups for cancer patients and caregivers. But I just want to say that, support groups are beneficial, really to everyone. People that are, suffering from other illnesses or diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, people going through divorce. There's bereavement groups. There's groups for people with mental illness and substance abuse. So although we're talking strictly about cancer support groups today, there are so many other support groups for people out there, going through different things at different stages in their life. So first, I just want to talk about the cancer journey. So a cancer diagnosis can bring not only physical challenges, but also intense emotional and psychological stress. The journey from diagnosis through treatment and recovery often feels isolated, overwhelming, and frightening. There's many emotional and psychological impacts of cancer. There's fear and anxiety, the uncertainty of the disease, potential outcomes and side effects of treatment can create constant worry for both the patient and the caregiver. There's also depression. Many cancer patients experience depression, often due to isolation, loss of identity, and uncertainty that come with the disease. And then cancer patients also experience feelings of loneliness at times. Cancer treatments can be long and isolating. They could come for treatment for 5 hours a day, 5 hours at a time for, 6 months, so they could feel disconnected from their friends and loved ones just from being here all the time or just constantly going for doctor's appointments and tests. So that can isolate them, and, patients can feel disconnected from family and friends in their life who do not fully understand their experience or what they're going through. So what are support groups? So support groups are gatherings of people who share a common experience or condition and come together to share their feelings, experiences, and offer mutual encouragement to each other. There's a few different types of support groups. So first we have in-person support groups, which are local gatherings in hospitals, clinics, or community centers. Then more popular, especially since COVID, are online support groups, which are virtual groups that can connect patients through forums, video calls, and or chat rooms. And then there's the family and caregiver support groups. Those groups are focused on supporting the patient, focused on those who are supporting the patient, helping to cope with the stress of caregiving. Now, there's many benefits of support groups. Obviously, it offers emotional support. So being around others who understand what you're going through can help reduce feelings of isolation and offer validations of your emotions. A lot of times patients say, nobody understands what I'm going through right now. So coming to a support group is nice because you're going and meeting with other people that are going through something similar, so they're able to understand you. Then there's sharing coping strategies. So support groups provide a space to share tips, advice, and resources on how to cope with physical, emotional, and financial challenges. Another benefit is strengthening resilience. So regularly interacting with others who are facing similar struggles can help build mental and emotional resilience as patients realize that they're not alone. And then there's a decrease in stress and anxiety. Talking openly about worries, fears, and frustrations can help reduce the stress and anxiety that come with the unknowns of cancer. And then we have some psychological benefits of support groups. It promotes health and positivity. Cancer patients often draw strength from hearing success stories or finding hope in the experience of others. You might have a patient that comes to a meeting who's in remission, and they kind of talk about their experience with other patients, and that gives them hope. Like, okay, this person was able to stay strong and beat it, and now they're, in remission. The patients have reduced feelings of isolation. So connecting with people who get it helps combat the loneliness often felt by cancer patients. And then there's improved self-esteem. Being part of a group where patients support one another can help patients regain a sense of control and self-worth. And it's nice for them too, because if the patient is able to help someone else, that it makes that patient, really feel good. It makes them feel good about, themselves and each other. Then there's social and practical benefits. So access to resources. So support groups often share information about treatments, financial assistance programs, and community resources. So if there's a social worker running the support group, a lot of times they'll talk about different resources that are available to the patients in the community. So, they really can educate them on that. Resources that, the patients often don't know exist. And then there's new social connections. So patients get to meet other individuals, and that can even lead sometimes to lifelong friendships, creating a stronger social network for the patient and ongoing emotional and practical support. Patients can keep in touch with each other outside of the group and really support each other, in between sessions. And then there's sharing knowledge. So patients and caregivers can share valuable knowledge about treatment options, side effects, and coping mechanisms with each other. So why join a support group? So through sharing experiences, patients gain emotional support, learn about treatment options, and connect with others who provide ongoing support throughout their journey. Patients find strength in support groups that help them understand their own diagnosis and treatment better. And they connect with other patients, and they make individuals feel empowered and less isolated during their treatment. So overcoming barriers to support group participation. So there can be barriers to joining a support group. Some of the most common ones are stigma. So some individuals may feel ashamed or embarrassed about joining a group, or, they might feel embarrassed that they need help, or, that they need to join a support group. Some patients say they don't have time. So treatment schedules and physical fatigue can make it difficult to find time for support group meetings. And then there's lack of access. For some, especially in rural areas, in-person groups may not be available. So some solutions to these barriers are virtual platforms and online support groups. So for those patients that are living in more isolated settings, you can easily find an online support group. For patients, where it's difficult to go to a support group because they have treatment and doctor's appointments, or if they're feeling fatigued, they can join a support group online that, works better for their schedule. And patients can try to schedule appointments around support group meetings to reduce conflicts, if they want to. Now, how to find a support group. So hospitals and treatment centers, most major medical centers offer cancer support groups. Cancer organizations, so nonprofits such as the American Cancer Society can provide resources for free in-person and virtual support. And then there's online platforms. So websites like cancercare.org provide free online support groups and resources for both cancer patients and caregivers. Now, questions to ask when joining a support group or choosing a group. Is the group specific to my type of cancer? So if there's a woman with breast cancer, and she wants to join a group, she might prefer to join a group that has women in it, specifically that have breast cancer. Or, someone might be looking to join a group for colon cancer or prostate cancer or lung cancer. So it's important to ask, does this group, specialize in a certain type of cancer, or is an open group for any type of cancer? And that's really based on your preference. Some patients, they'll go to a group with just, people with any type of cancer, but other patients prefer to go to a group specific, to their type of cancer. Ask how often does the group meet and how long are the meetings? So that's important. If a group only meets once a month, you might say, well, I'm really looking for something, more often than that. If a group meets every week, you might say, well, that's a little bit too much of a, commitment for me every week. Find out how long the group is. If a group is 1 hour, that might be good for you. If it's 2 hours and you're feeling fatigued, that might be too long for you. So that's an important question to ask. Are the group facilitators trained and experienced? So you want to make sure that you're going to be going to a group where, the patient, facilitators are, trained and they're professionals, and they have experience in their field. And then you might want to ask, what is the age range of the participants in the group? So depending on your age, say, you're 30 years old and you have, cancer, you might not want to join a group that has all individuals in their 80s, or, an older population. You might want to find a group that's, more specific to, young adults with cancer. And this is just an ad. We do have a cancer support group here at Montefiore Nyack Hospital. We meet twice per month. The meeting is about 1 hour long. The location is here in the oncology office. It's, of course, free, and all these support groups, that I'm going to talk about today, they are all free of charge. So I would just encourage, if you're interested in coming, you have the phone number there for myself and Nicole, the other oncology social worker here. You can call us and say, hey, Heather, when's the next support group meeting? And I'll let you know the date and the time. Typically, the groups, 90% of the time, are on a Wednesday from 10 to 11, so it's 1 hour long. If the room that we usually have the meeting in is not available, we might have to switch it to a Thursday for that, that particular time. But typically, it's always on a Wednesday from 10 to 11. And any cancer patient is invited to that group. So, whether you're receiving treatment here at Montefiore Nyack, of course, you're welcome. If you're receiving treatment somewhere else, like we have patients that come who are getting treatment at Columbia in the city. We have another one that's getting treatment at, or a couple that are getting treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering. So you don't have to be getting treatment here in order to come to our group. We welcome everyone, no matter where, where it is that you're going. Now we have various cancer support group resources for patients and caregivers. So the American Cancer Society, they're a wonderful website with many resources, but you can go on there to find local support programs and services for patients and caregivers, whether it's a support group or financial assistance or anything else that you're looking for. And then there's cancercare.org. They offer both online and in-person support groups for both patients and caregivers, as well as many other services such as free wigs, financial assistance, case management services, all free of charge. Then there's Cancer Support Community Greater New York and Connecticut at Gilda's Club. They offer in-person and online support groups for patients and caregivers. They also offer individual counseling for patients and caregivers. Now, Gilda's Club is located over in Westchester. So like I said, they do in-person and online. I know a lot of us people living in Rockland, we don't like to go over the Tappan Zee Bridge. So, you have the option of doing an online group or online counseling if that works better for you. And then we have Cancer Survivor Care. This has online support groups for patients. There's a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. They offer support groups for patients and caregivers, as well as a wealth of other services such as financial assistance. They offer nutritional counseling for free. So they have a lot of wonderful services as well. Then we have the Look Good, Feel Better program. Now this is specifically for patients, and this is a different type of group, but it's an important one. They offer groups where they have licensed beauty professionals that can guide group participants in skincare and makeup techniques, wardrobe and styling, and the utilization of wigs and head coverings to help manage the appearance side effects of cancer treatments. Then there's another organization, Soul Riders. They're also located in Westchester, in Rye. They offer in-person and online support groups for both patients and caregivers. And then there's another organization called Stupid Cancer. And this is specifically for cancer patients under 40 years old. They offer in-person and online support groups. So as you can see here, I've included all of the websites and phone numbers for all of these organizations. So in conclusion, some key takeaways. Support groups play a critical role in the emotional, psychological, and social well-being of cancer patients and caregivers. They provide a platform for connection, shared knowledge, and collective resilience. Accessing support groups can reduce isolation, build strength, and improve overall quality of life during and after treatment. It's important to know that there are specific groups for cancer survivors. So even after you're done with treatment, you can find a survivor group and, go to that so you can continue with, another group. And a final thought, no one should have to face cancer alone, whether a patient or caregiver. Whether through online or in-person groups, the power of community is an invaluable part of the healing process. And this last slide here has my contact information, my direct phone number, and my email. And I'd like to ask Sandra if there's any questions at this time.
Okay, I'm not seeing any questions here, but I always have questions. So
I know, that's okay.
yes. So thank you so much for this. It's a very nice review of all the services that we have around us, not just in the hospital, but in our community. So thank you so much, Heather,
Oh,
for
you're welcome.
putting this together. Here is the question. We might have a family member with cancer who, for one reason or another, we know needs the support. We know that would be doing much better if he or she were in a group, but they don't want to join the group.
Mhm.
How do we, as caregivers, convince them this is good for you? What can we say?
That's a very good question. Thank you. I think one way to go about it is maybe, if this is helpful, have the caregiver find a caregiver support group. Go to a couple sessions of that group or even one session and say to the patient who's their family member, I went to a caregiver support group. I found it really helpful. I think maybe you should try to, join one for cancer patients. And I think it might be easier to kind of ease into it by, having them join an online support group rather than in person. If someone's hesitant or resistant to go to a group, it might be easier for them to join an online one, where, they could just even do one group if they want. If in the middle of the group they're finding like, oh, this really isn't for me, they can easily sign off. Whereas if you're in an in-person group, you might feel kind of funny walking out in the middle of the group. But I would just encourage them, I would try one as a caregiver, say, I find it helpful. Try to hook them up with, an online one first.
Mm-hmm.
And if that goes well, maybe eventually they'll, feel up to do an in-person one.
Mm-hmm. Now, another comment that I've heard about focus groups, support groups, is that people don't want to go because, oh, I don't want to feel that I have cancer. Like I go there and I see other people and I get depressed because, everybody looks more sick than I am. How do you go about that?
Right, and that's kind of like feeling like emotional overload. Like you go to a group and maybe you're just diagnosed and you didn't start treatment yet, and you see these other people that are well into treatment and they're looking, sicker than you are. And that could be very difficult for them. And I would just encourage the patient, maybe wait till you join, or see how it goes. Encourage them to join an online one, because then it's not so in your face if you're in an online support group, what other people are kind of, the side effects that they're going through, and, how the cancer is, making them physically change or, look sick, due to the treatment. So
Mhm.
I would again encourage them to, try to do online first and see how that goes. But it can be an emotional overload, like you said, especially for an in-person group.
Mhm. Are there support groups? I know that you mentioned that there are many different kinds and they have different goals, I guess. Are there any support groups? And this idea just came to me based on what you just said. Are there any support groups based on the stage of cancer? Because you're right, if I'm a stage 1 and just starting treatment, I might look very healthy. I probably wouldn't like to be sitting next to someone that is a stage 4 saying, well, I throw up every day and I can't eat and I can't do this, because then it's going to be depressing. If I'm not there yet, I might be thinking, oh my God, is this what is going to happen to me?
Right,
So how
right.
do you manage?
No, absolutely. And, one thing to remember with cancer treatment is that there's so many different treatments today that I have some patients that are going through treatment. They have no side effects at all. They're like, I just feel tired. And then you have other patients that are getting sick every day because it's based on the type of treatment that they're getting. So if you see that person sitting next to you, that doesn't mean once you start treatment, that's how you're going to react or that's how you're going to look. I have a lot of patients that, just go through it and just say that they're tired. So I would just really encourage, people, like that doesn't mean that that's going to happen to you. That person might have a different treatment, a different type of cancer. Try not to let that, discourage you.
Mhm.
But they do, I know Cancer Care has different groups for, people depending on what stage they're in. If you want to join a group specifically for stage 1, 2, 3, or 4, I know Cancer Care does offer that.
Okay, that's actually very good. Yes,
Yeah.
because at the same time, it could be encouraging if you are just starting your treatments to say, look, catching cancer on time and all of that, it's
Mhm.
gonna prevent you from being at this stage that other people in the group might be going.
Right,
So it
right.
really, I guess, it depends on your personality. If you're
Mhm.
glass full empty or half full kind of person, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all we have. Thank you so much, Heather. I think that this is
Very
very
welcome.
useful. And so that everybody knows, we have been recording this presentation, so it will live in YouTube under Community Chats Montefiore Nyack Hospital. So please help us spread this information. It's really good for all of those who not only have cancer, but their caregivers as well, who sometimes need either as much or more support than people with cancer. So thank you so much, Heather, for this very useful information and for your time, of course.
Welcome.
And thank you to all of our attendees. See you next week with more community chats. Take care.
Bye-bye.